day to see these people do this. And she was unique to some degree, like a lot of widows from the Army back then. They got a pittance, if you will, for a pension. She had to find her way. She had to figure out a way to make money. And so her family helped her as best they could. But of course, the Custer family didn't have any money. Some things never change. And so she figured out how to make her way. She used to pack the houses. She would tour. She'd go from state to state. They had a lot of write-ups about her in the paper, how well she would speak, et cetera, et cetera. Over time, she became the assistant librarian, if you will, up in Lansing. She spent a little bit of time doing that. But she became a lifelong friend with Libby Custer, of course, the general's wife. And anyway, and the other folks, gosh, there's too many here. I can't talk about all of them because I'd bore you to death. But suffice it to say that the Custer family was historically very religious. Almost all of them. There were a few crazy Lutherans here, but mostly all Methodists, and that actually still continues today. And all very political. Emmanuel was a flaming Democrat, if you will. He was always talking partisan politics. Nevin Custer, my great-grandfather, same thing. Great-great-grandfather, excuse me. Lived and died politics all the time. I mean, if they had CNN and Fox News, my gosh, those guys would have been in heaven. They just would have been all over that stuff. It sounds like my dad, actually, to tell you the truth.
And Mom.
Or me, potentially, possibly. Maybe just a little bit. Not sure. So anyway, one of the things my dad used to say all the time, you know, my dad was a staunch defender of the Custer name. Gave speeches when he could, made the rounds when he could, but he would be asked occasionally, you know, well, do you find any fault? I mean, you say all these great things about the Custer family. Do you find any fault at all in General Custer? And he would simply say yes. He would say just one. He was a damn Democrat. My dad, meaning my dad, very conservative and a Republican, if you will. So, anyways, my father was a storyteller in the family. He would bring us here, and he would talk about who all these people were. And we'd walk around, and I was always amazed by how he could look at any marker that was here, and he could tell you who they were. And, you know, 5 generations. There are some incredible things. I mean, all of Nevin's kids are here, which they had 7. They're all buried here. Curiously, some of their spouses, in fact, quite a few of them are not here. And I've never quite understood that. So Maggie's spouse, I can go on. I think there's about 5 people buried here and their wives are not here. So, or husbands, I should say as well. But my dad would know all this stuff. And he would talk about it all the time, and we'd come here and many times, and he would show us and tell us the stories about who these people were. And so I was always struck by that. And one of the reasons we really wanted to do a marker was also to create some sort of a lasting memory when there was nobody left to tell the stories. The Custer family has moved out of Monroe. They all moved out really after the Second World War. All the Custer men served. They were all career men. They were all very involved in their careers. They picked up their families. They moved to their new assignments. And the only 2 that were left were Margaret and Miriam, who neither married, and both died up here in the 50s. So our concern was that we need a marker. We need to continue the legacy as best we can. So God does not need markers. He knows all of these folks, knows them intimately. I pray that, of course, He's still keeping them all in His blessing, that they're all behaving themselves up there. My mother, I can say for sure, if you were to ask her today, and you would say, Mom, you know, we're going to put this marker up and we're doing it for this reason or that. What do you think about that idea? Well, my mother was a rather subtle person on the outside. She would say something like, oh, good grief. That's what Mom would say, I guarantee it. Or she'd say something like, heavens to Betsy, you know.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So Mom would say that, and it's not to suggest that she wasn't very proud about the family heritage. My mom was the one who would always take old photographs, and on the back of each one, you know, she'd write the names of everybody. She used to take all the old Custer letters, half of them which are very hard to read, and she'd write out in script on a piece of paper what it said, so that you didn't have to take a half hour to read a 5-minute letter, which is what happens with a lot of the old letters. So she was very involved in that way, but she was extremely unassuming. My dad, on the other hand, I'm very confident if you were to ask him, so Dad, we're going to do this marker, we think it's a good idea, what do you think? And I'm confident he would have had a very different reaction. I'm confident that he would have thought that this was a good idea. Maybe he would have thought he wished he would have thought of that. Maybe he would have thought he wished he could have done it. You know, I'm not really sure. But I can only say that Dad, from all of us, Dad, this marker is for you. Thank you all very much. All right, Rick and I haven't seen this. We hope if there's anything screwed up with this, it's Rick's fault. I just want to let you know right now. Okay? I have to go on record, so. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh wow, that's cool.
That is awesome.
Ready?
That's awesome.
Woohoo! All right, Rick. That's good. This is better than Rick's cardboard mock-up. Rick came out here with a cardboard mock-up the size of the plaque, you know, and there's snow all over the ground. He's kind of digging the snow out, and he's sending me YouTube videos on, what do you think? So go here, so look right here, so, you know, and all that. So this looks much better than your mock-up. So that looks terrific. All right. That's great.
Jeff, the question was, how did you guys decide on this spot?
We decided on this spot because we wanted, a lot of folks that come here to Woodland, I noticed over the years,